Thank you very much, fellow Africans. So, therefore, fellow Africans, this afternoon I want to admit that I am once again profoundly honored to present to you our 32nd episode of the Change for African campaign. And so, therefore, being on Tuesday, fellow Africans, we discuss our second pillar of the Change for African campaign, which is the potential that we have as an African continent. And so, as we had agreed before, that this week we'll be using, or we'll be trying to use the Africa Agenda 2063, about the Africa we want, to help us exemplify our this week's episodes, And so, today being on Tuesday, yesterday we used it was about governance on Mondays, where we discussed governance, where we touched on things to do with democracy, rule of law, justice, and all those sort of things. But then today we'll be using that is the aspiration number 3. But today we'll be using the aspiration number 6 to help us exemplify on our today's episode about the potential that we have as an African continent. So therefore, fellow Africans, this key aspiration is by the name an Africa where development is people-driven, relying on the potential of its youth and women, where we have a sub of that whereby investing in education, innovation, and leadership development. So this is a very key aspiration with respect to when we speak potential of Africa, because this is what they have put in place. It was adopted in 2015 and by the African Union. So this is what they are looking forward to have achieved by 2063, some 38 years from now. It may seem like a lot, but it's not, because we have 10 years that have gone already. 10 years down the line have gone, and so we have to see if really this one is going to be possible with respect to the current state in which Africa is in. Because when we speak about investing in education, innovation, and leadership development, yes, we can speak about that. Yes, investing in education, but then as at the moment, have we really made huge steps? It may be yes or a no regarding where you are, because Africa is very huge, and looking at very many parts of Africa, education is still not really stable. Education is still facing very critical challenges. Some countries, even the education system are failing. The higher education and all that. We just have still problems in our education sector. So when you speak about this being one of the aspirations of the Africa Agenda 2063, or what some of the things they need to have made huge steps by 2063, then it remains a question: what are we doing to make sure that we achieve this? Is this just on paper that we had agenda of, for a span of these years? It should not be that way if we really want to achieve the Africa Agenda 2063. And so, speaking about investing in education, innovation, and leadership development, and then when you go to innovation, are we really having a great space in Africa whereby we have minds, we have minds totally immersed in the innovative world, minds trying to come up with new things, minds that are very eager to develop new devices to help Africa in terms of improving its services in just various sectors. Those are some of the things you need to ask. Investing in these areas, have we really invested in those areas? And then we have the leadership development. It is for a fact that Africa, we have the potential to produce very great leaders. We have done this before. We have been able to produce very great leaders from Africa. And so, speaking about leadership development, it is still a question of weight, because as currently, many of the problems as to why many of the problems that Africa is going through currently, some of them are due to the styles of leadership in Africa, are due to the people in the political and governance systems in Africa. So the potential that is yet to be unleashed in Africa, most of it is because of the style of leadership, the style of governance systems. So speaking about leadership development, yes, they did agree on a very great thing, but then we need to see what is happening currently to help us such that when we by 2063 we should have made some immense steps, because Actually, many of the, maybe we may say, we may have leaders in future, of which I'm very optimistic, of which I'm working on and making sure that we have very great leaders of integrity, because we need, as going into the future, we need more practical people. We need people who see Africa as a country of a very great potential, continent rather, of very great potential, such that Africa, we need leaders who see Africa as a potential, as a global powerhouse, as a continent where everything is possible. We do not need leaders who see Africa as a continent where the only thing they can do is to continue begging for money from the Western countries and other foreign countries. We need to see leadership whereby they believe that Africa is able to do things on their own, that Africa has indeed its real potential. We need such kind of leaders. But are we really investing in those areas, but or we're still making a lot of politics, in such areas, because those are very critical areas. Raising leaders of integrity, raising leaders who see the future of many, these are very critical areas that you need to be serious about. And being one of the agenda of one of the Africa Agenda 2063, for the fact we can say that across Africa still we have a lot of problems, because we have things to do with security. These are things that can hinder such operations. So we cannot speak that we would have made huge steps if you proceed with the same way in which our countries in Africa are still being run. And speaking about the potential of the development of Africa relying on the potential of its youth and women, remember Africa has a population of about 1.2 to 1.4 billion persons. I've said that countless times. And so this is a powerhouse. This is a very huge workforce, which if invested in, indeed this aspiration will be true. But if we continue to behave the way we behave currently, if we do not have that political hygiene and governance hygiene within our countries and within our continent of Africa, then this remains to be paperwork. This is meant to be a mere dream. This is meant to be a mere aspiration that will really be able to achieve it, because in Africa still we have a lot of things that we need to mend before we speak about such things, because 10 years ago is when these things were adopted. But so the very big question that I've also asked countless times is, what have we been able, or what are some of the steps have we done when you just try to go from one country to the other, from eastern countries to the western countries, from the northern countries to the southern countries? What are some of the steps that we have made that we can say yes indeed? If it is not, because for a fact I can tell you that when you speak about leadership for the youth actually, or relying on the youth for development, many of the youth in these countries are actually not enticed, or happy with the current political system because of how they behave or how they carry on operations. So you find that many of these people who arise actually that and who appear that will be very great leaders in future, these are people who have just come out from not from being coerced or being mentored by someone who is in the current political system. Rather, these are people who have come up with that mind and with that they are like not embarrassed really, but they are disappointed. Let me use that, in the current styles of leaders in Africa. That's why they rise up. But it's not really that we have leaders who have come up. We have a lot of them. We have a lot of them. We are here. We have not come up like we have seen somebody who is very good at things to do with leadership and governance, but rather most of these have come up because of the problems that Africa is facing, because of the current political systems not being able to make Africa realize its potential. Because instead of doing that, the current many of them continue to always seek for money from other nations, whereby they cannot utilize the Africa's immense potential to make Africa be self-reliant continent. So speaking about Africa, the Africa Agenda 2063 aspiration number 6 remains to be a mere dream if we do not reshuffle, if we do not reschedule the way we do our politics, if we do not have the political hygiene within our continent of Africa. So it is still an issue of wait and see, But then as Africans wait and see, I am saying that the Change for African campaign is here to make sure that the wait and see will now be seen, because if seeing is believing, we all know seeing is believing in most of the aspects. As with respect to Africa, we have to see to believe, and so for that to become true, we have to make sure that the current youth of Africa are able to rise up on their own and make Africa a great continent. So therefore, fellow Africans, thank you. God bless you and have an interesting afternoon session. Let's meet tomorrow as we discuss our, which pillar is it? Pillar number 3, about the resources that we own in Africa. Will still be on the Africa Agenda 2063 to help us exemplify on that pillar. Thank you. God bless you. Have an interesting afternoon. Bye.